Good morning, namaste, salam alaikum everyone. I'm Kavish Iyer from Mumbai, India, and I would like to introduce my partner for today, Fatima Khan Lak from Lahore, Pakistan. I'm honored to be a part of the first delegation from India to speak at the esteemed Critical Issues Forum. Before I start, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Masako Toki. Your unwavering dedication and leadership has only made this event possible. A special thanks to all our educators, Sagar, Qasim, and Anum and Urmi for their guidance, mentorship, and throughout belief in our potential. Finally, to all the graduate students and delegates present here today, thank you for giving us your valuable time. Our goal for this presentation is going to be help you think beyond the Non-Proliferation Treaty or the NPT and to give you an Indo-Pak perspective on nuclear responsibility and global non-proliferation. The weapons of war must be abolished before they abolish us, said in 1963 by former American President John F. Kennedy. America still hasn't learned. Not just America, but the entire world seems to have forgotten the essence of humanity. We find ourselves in a world where restraint is praised on paper, yet hypocrisy roams free. As we delve deeper, my request to all of you would be to step into our shoes, shoes of two nations shaped not by choice but by circumstance. Let us tell you our side of the story, not as villains or heroes, but as voices unheard. I invite you to set aside everything you think you know about the Non-Proliferation Treaty, India, or Pakistan. Let go of the narratives you've heard and the conclusions you've drawn, because today we're not here to reaffirm what's familiar, but we're here to challenge it. These will be the topics we aim to provide insight on today. At the end, we have a short video message along with Zahid from Kashmir, India, who has been more than just a counselor to me, but a mentor, a guide, and a big brother. In the message, we'll start off with the history of Kashmir and end with our hopes for its future. Let us talk about the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or the NPT. Signed in 1968, the NPT is a pact of promise, a commitment to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote peaceful nuclear energy and non-proliferation. Today, 191 countries stand as signatories, bound by the belief that the fewer hands nuclear weapons rest in, the safer our world is. Yet, we will now look at how this treaty, which promises peace, is the very one that perpetuates division. Let us look at the artists of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. The 5 countries, US, UK, Russia, China, and France. These are the 5 countries who are recognized as nuclear weapon states, but they are required to disarm as per the Article 6 of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. We don't see that happening, do we? These controversies are among the key reasons that led India and Pakistan to develop nuclear weapons for themselves. I would now request Fatima to share more insights.
Today, I, Fatma, will take you on a journey with me into the hearts and spirits of two very resilient nations, India and Pakistan. Their histories are dotted with disputes and conflicts, which stand as a testament to their unspeakable spirits and the unspeakable challenges they have faced over many decades. Their decision to continue with nuclear capabilities was not born solely from ambition, but rather a need, a deep-seated need for security, sovereignty, and safety in a world where trust is fragile and history is heavy. Pakistan and India have had a shared legacy of struggle and hope. In 1947, as Pakistan and India emerged from the shadows of colonial rule by the British, self-determination did in fact come at an immense cost. The boundaries of partition were not only geographical, but rather did leave emotional scars which have resonated with people till today, marking 78 years since 1947. Imagine just having to wake up and having families divided, communities uprooted, and dreams shattered. With increasing exchange of violence between the two countries and a total of 3 wars that have taken place, it was inevitable for the countries to build nuclear weapons because they had to strengthen their emotional as well as physical fortresses. And you know what they meant by physical fortresses? A call for nuclear development. The quest for India began in 1974 when they tested their first nuclear weapon, which marked as a point of scientific achievement as well as a desperate assertion of strength. Pakistan, followed by its deep-seated fear that one of its rivals and its neighbors had got a nuclear weapon, and a desperate need for a counterbalance, started developing their own nuclear power. As in the words of the leading prime minister at the time, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, if India builds the bomb, we will go hungry. We will eat leaves or grass, but we will make one of our own. This depicts the kind of intensity and the need of nuclear weapons in the region for stability itself. And yet, this question comes, and we ponder about this, that why these nations are not a part of the NPT. Essentially, they view the NPT as something that safeguards them, as something which is essential for their national defense, especially living in a region where there are consistent disputes, especially the ongoing dispute over Kashmir, which we will be talking about in our video message. This view this nuclear arsenal as essential for security and sovereignty. Secondly, these nations view the NPT as a world order which is steeped in inequality, which differentiates between countries which are deemed worthy of wielding power while some are well restricted and have to struggle for every inch of power they can get. They do not see this as a safeguard of peace, but rather something that legitimizes only 5 nations to have nuclear arsenal, while it put strict limitations on all others. Last but not least, a major reason that they did not sign the NPT was that Pakistan's ultimate conclusion to sign the NPT relied completely and purely upon India. However, since India did move away from the NPT, Pakistan ended up not signing the treaty as well, even though they did initially incline towards it. And that is pretty much it for why they did not sign the NPT. But they did involve themselves in other doctrines for which my fellow peer will be expanding upon.
Thank you. Let's look at the nuclear doctrines of both the countries. India's nuclear doctrine is built on restraint, that is, no first use. It pledges that nuclear weapons will only be used in retaliation if and only if India is attacked with nuclear weapons first. It's a policy that shows that belief that strength isn't measured by aggression, but by control. But in contrast, Pakistan's doctrine operates on the principle of first use. Why? Because for Pakistan, nuclear weapons aren't just tools of deterrence. They are shields against a perceived existential threat. Pakistan's reliance on nuclear weapons is only a reflection of their vulnerability. I would like to clarify my reasoning here is not to justify their nuclear weapons, but just to highlight the situations of both the countries. Let's talk about the bilateral confidence-building measures that, despite decades of conflict, India and Pakistan have established over the years. The non-attack agreement, the ballistic missile tests, the hotline, they exist to prevent escalations in moments of crisis. And then there was the Lahore Declaration, a symbol of dialogue signed within an year of both nuclear testings in 1999. It was a statement that even nuclear rivals can talk. But tell me, is this talking really enough? Let's talk about some of the double standards that exist. Practice what you preach. It means that you should behave in a way you encourage others to. The nuclear weapon states, the self-proclaimed gatekeepers of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, they expand their own arsenals under the guise of security. Take the US, for instance, spending a staggering $50 billion in 2023 alone. Then there's Israel. Its nuclear capabilities remain an open secret. And what about China? Quietly modernizing its arsenal unchecked. Every one of these expansions prompts a counter-expansion, a chain reaction that locks all of these nations into a relentless arms race. So when these nuclear weapon states who preach restraint but practice supremacy, we must ask ourselves, is this really the way forward?
Moving on, talking about cross-cultural youth engagement. I have a question for you all. We all are here from multiple countries and different backgrounds. But you know what we all have in common? One shared future, a future that we all can mold with our very own actions. You know what I call that? I call that hope. Hope that with our fresh perspectives, our fresh open minds, and cross-cultural dialogue, we can build bridges where walls stand today. We have access to media and global platforms where we can resonate and bring our voices together. And we can move beyond the rigid doctrines of the past, for we can make new policies which are much more transparent, accountable, and inclusive, policies that put people above, above and our shared future above power and privilege. Moving on, let's shed some light on youth redefining the NPT. I believe yes, it is possible that the youth can redefine the NPT with our strong cross-cultural links. We can redefine it and make it much more transparent and inclusive, considering the fact that the nuclear non-proliferation was essentially made to save us from the consequences of nuclear warfare. However, its credibility is put into question every single day with the growing tactical nuclear weapons and the slow and sluggish pace with which the nuclear weapon states are disarming. I believe countries like us and the countries which don't have nuclear weapons would put its credibility to question every single time. With that, we would like to talk about the process and the solutions to this.
Thank you. Well, the process of engaging youth would be very simple. It would be to encourage cross-border initiatives like this, where young leaders from nuclear and non-nuclear weapon states collaborate on disarmament strategies. We must also actively participate the youth in international nuclear policy summits and United Nations forums. We would now like to present our solutions to redefining the Non-Proliferation Treaty and genuine nuclear disarmament. First would be to initiate bilateral stability between the two countries, India and Pakistan, to have an arms control treaty to prevent unchecked escalation, especially at the borders, to have complete transparency in our nuclear doctrines to prevent any kind of miscalculation. Global policy reformation, to recognize India and Pakistan as nuclear weapon states to ensure equal treatment in nuclear governance. Holding all nuclear states accountable, including those operating outside the NPT, like Israel and North Korea. And universal disarmament. All the nuclear weapon states must fulfill Article 6 and reduce their stockpiles. A phased, verifiable disarmament roadmap to ensure global security. It is said that nuclear treaties offer us nothing but a balance of terror, and a balance of terror is still terror. True security will never be found in the shadow of nuclear weapons or bogus policies. It will be found in the courage to disarm, the strength to cooperate, and the resolve to build a world where power is not measured by destruction, but by diplomacy.
As we put this discussion to a close, I ask you all, are you letting the echoes of the past define your future, or are we going to pick up our pens and write the narratives of our future? Together, our destiny together. I mean, look around yourselves. I ask you, are we prepared to safeguard us from every new additional nuclear weapon that is created around the world? It is a huge globe at the end. In this daunting reality, we find hope in one another. With our voices which can resonate across global platforms and build a path, it is not only me who advocates this, but the UN Security Council, under the resolution of 2250, also advocates youth and its use towards unity and peace. I repeat, we are not passive observers or bystanders, but we are the ones who can break the cycle, taking into light a very, very famous saying by Mahatma Gandhi: an eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind. Let's take this as a reminder that retaliation and unchecked stockpiling will only lead us into further darkness. But we must not forget the voices of the Hibakusha, of course, the survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, who have lived through the catastrophic events of nuclear warfare. Their histories are not only mere stories, but rather urgent warnings of our present and future. They have spent their whole lives advocating for a world which is free from the horrors they have endured. And with us having our powers, we must redefine and move beyond the shackles of the nuclear warfare. Imagine a future where restraint is celebrated, and our dialogue overshadows the destructive allure of weapons. Ending it all, I would like to quote a favorite saying by Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Today, let us dream fiercely of a tomorrow that is defined by unity and mutual respect. Let us be the architects of a future where our actions speak much louder than the nuclear arsenals that we possess. Let us break free from the shackles of the nuclear weapons, just as how we have progressed from the mic being in the stand and from it being in our hands right now. With that, I would say let's become the catalyst towards long-lasting peace so that the mistakes made 80 years ago in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are not repeated. Now we would like to play our video over Kashmir so that you get a little more insight on that. Thank you.
They call Kashmir the paradise of the earth, but paradise is not meant to be divided. It is not meant to be fought over.
1947, the year that changed it all. India was freed, Pakistan was born, and well, Kashmir was caught in the middle.
The princely state of Jammu and Kashmir was ruled by Maharaja Hari Singh, a Hindu ruler in a Muslim majority state. Pakistan expected Kashmir to join it, but the Maharaja, he hesitated.
Then came the tribal invasion in which the Pakistani soldiers made their way into Kashmir, which forced Hindu Maharaja to seek help from India, ultimately leading him to sign the instrument of accession, which now meant that Kashmir was a part of India.
And that was the beginning of war.
I was born in Srinagar, but I have extended family across the line of control, relatives that I had never met in my life. My grandfather used to tell me stories how he would travel from Srinagar to Muzaffarabad without any borders, without any checkpoints, and now that's literally impossible.
The war of 1947-48 ended with a ceasefire. Pakistan took control of what is now known as Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, while India held back Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh.
In 1965, yet another war over Kashmir emerged between Pakistan and India, yet again. In 1971, Bangladesh was created. But what happened to Kashmir? It stayed the same, a wound that wouldn't heal.
And while nations fought, we as Kashmiris always suffered. Soldiers with weapons became a part of our identity. We literally grew up under the shadow of a gun. People claimed to always protect us, but everybody from both sides came with their own agenda and their own wars. And we became the casualty of their conflict. And nobody ever asked us Kashmiris what we really wanted.
In 1962, during the India-China War, China occupied Aksai Chin, a part of Ladakh, India. A piece of Kashmir was lost and another border was drawn.
Later, Pakistan handed the Suxgaon Valley to China. This, for the people of Kashmir, was nothing but just another line cutting through their land.
Lines on the map, that is all it is for the governments. But for us, it's the walls. It's the distance between brother and sisters. The barbed wires is separating me from seeing my extended family who just lives miles away.
3 wars weren't enough. Then came 1998. India tested nuclear weapons again, and Pakistan followed. The world held its breath. South Asia had entered the nuclear age.
There have been near misses. Kargil in 1999, the standoffs of 2001 and 2019. Each time, the world watched that this long-fought battle might ignite something far worse that the world has ever seen.
We are tired of war. We are tired of promises that never turn into peace. Kashmir is not just a conflict. It is a home for me and for millions of other Kashmiris. Let's not forget that.
Thank you.